Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Society of Wetland Scientists October 2020 webinar entitled Role of Inland Saline Wetland Ecosystems in the Face of Climate Change, which is going to be presented today by Rajashree Nayak. My name is Kim Ponzio, and I'm a past president of SWS and the SWS Webinar Committee co-chair. And I'm pleased to moderate this webinar today and hopefully engage you in an e-learning experience with SWS during a time when many of you, like me, may still be sequestered at home, perhaps maybe just now returning to the office. We think that the SWS webinar program has been a great way to stay connected to the wetland community during the global pandemic, and we hope you're all staying well. For those of you who may not be as familiar with our SWS webinar series, all of our monthly webinars are complimentary to SWS members, and usually we hold these on the third Thursday of the month at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. But once a quarter, we open up our webinars to offer them free to non-members and the public. And as you can see on this listing of our upcoming webinars, we have both our regular SWS webinar series in English and also less frequently hosted webinars offered in Spanish. Our next free quarterly webinar will be held on December 17th at 9 a.m., which is different than our usual time, and is titled SWS History 40 Years of Globalization. And that's going to be presented by Dr. Kathy Yule, and she'll have a panel of scientists from around the world, and that's the reason for that time change. So you don't want to miss that, so make sure you tune in. We are proud to announce that we have 4 organizations that sponsor our SWS webinar series in 2020. The first 2 are the Water Resources, Hydrology, and Hydraulics Education Group. And this is a nonprofit group that shares information on water resources, hydrologic, and hydraulic engineering to help educate and build a better tomorrow. And we also have the Whittington Group, which is a natural resource consulting firm that balances regulatory compliance with sound ecological management. And you can find their information on those websites listed above. The second 2 SWS webinar series sponsors are in situ monitoring equipment and software that work together to make it easier and more cost-effective to collect, access, and manage water levels, water quality, water flow, and more. And WildNote, which is a field data collection app for environmental professionals that streamlines the process of collecting, managing, and reporting environmental data so that you can work smarter, not harder. And you can also find their information on the websites listed above. And please make sure to visit all of our sponsors' web pages and like or follow them on social media. And since January of 2018, we've gone through the process of having our SWS webinars pre-approved by the SWS Professional Certification Program as being applicable for continuing education credits. So these credits can be applied to your professional wetland scientist certification or renewal, or any other certifications that you may hold. And it really seems more important now than ever during this pandemic to gather as many CEUs as you can from online and virtual training sessions like the SWS webinars. You can get participation certificates, and that's available through an automated process. You should receive an email from our managing director, Michelle Chosek, about 1 day after the webinar. And if you don't see that, look in your spam email. And these certificates are free to you, the members. We have non-members that are tuning in, it's a nominal cost of $20 each. And you can also get these participation certificates if you view our webinar recordings on our past webinars page, like you see on this slide here, or you can even go to our YouTube channel where you can find multilingual captions as well. So before we get started, I want to go over a few housekeeping items. We've changed our platform to the Zoom webinar platform. So we just want to let you know that today we are expecting a presentation of about 45 minutes from our presenter, and then we're going to follow that up with 15 minutes of questions. All of the attendees are muted, and at any time during the presentation, when you want to ask a question, you can do that through the Q&A panel. Make sure that you do not use the chat panel for that. You use the Q&A panel. And you can also upvote the questions that you want to see answered earlier in the Q&A session. Again, the chat pane should only be used for if you have a technical difficulty. We have SWS staff waiting to see if there's any issues that arise, or if you want to just make some general comments. The handout for today's presentation is hosted in PDF format on our SWS website. And after this Zoom meeting concludes, you're going to get an evaluation survey, and we hope you'll give us a few minutes of your time to give us feedback about today's webinar and our program. And if you are interested in speaking in our 2021 series, go ahead and indicate that on the survey. And finally, if you know how to do it, I do not, but if you know how to do it, tweet about today's webinar at #SWSwebinar. So with that, it's my distinct pleasure today to introduce our speaker, Rajashree Naik. Rajashree is a second-year PhD student of saline wetland ecology at Central University of Rajasthan, India. Her doctoral research investigates the spatio-temporal status of the largest inland saline wetland of India called Sambhar Salt Lake. She takes a multidisciplinary approach that encompasses multispectral and hyperspectral remote sensing, LiDAR technology, and intense field surveys for migratory birds, halophytes, and xerophytes for an ecology economic interdependence analysis. She was a research fellow at the, and I'm sure I'm not going to say this right, the Uttarakhand Space Application Center in Sericulture. Rajashree is a member of the Society of Wetland Scientists, all right, hooray, the Ecological Society of America, and the British Ecological Society Aquatic Group. And she's been selected to receive an International Travel Award for the SWS 2021 annual meeting. She's an active participant of the Asian Water Census for the Sambhar Salt Lake, and she received summer research fellowships from the Indian Academy of Science for her Master's of Science Studies in Environmental Science from Central University of Rajasthan, and holds a postgraduate diploma degree from the Indian Space Research Organization in Forestry and Ecosystems. And she's also co-authored 3 research publications on wetland ecosystems. So I'm really proud to announce that we have Rajashree here to talk to us today. Welcome, Rajashree.
Thanks, Kim, for such a wonderful introduction. Thank you, Society of Wetland Scientists, for giving me a lovely opportunity and a global platform to share my research. And thanks everyone for joining this webinar series. So myself, Rajashree Naik, going to present on the title, Role of Inland Saline Wetland Ecosystems in the Face of Climate Change.
Oh, shoot.
Currently, I am pursuing PhD under Dr. Lakshmikant Sharma, who is the head of Ecosystem and Analysis Laboratory, former head and dean of Department of Environmental Science, School of Earth Science. He has authored more than 40 peer-reviewed national international journals, editorial board. He is also the member of IUCN currently from 2019 to 2021 session. I will say that we have a very good research team of I pursue my research with Alok Raj, Rajnikant Verma and Rajit Gupta, working in both wetland and forest ecosystem using advanced remote sensing technology like hyperspectral, microwave, UAV and LiDAR datasets with advanced technology like artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning and Internet of Things. So guys, yes, today I will be discussing on saline wetland ecosystems, primarily inland saline wetland ecosystems, their structures, their trophic structures, their geological structures, their geographical locations, their role, their importance, and yes, mostly the threats they are experiencing. And also I will be explaining a case study of taking example from India, the largest inland saline wetland ecosystem, that is the Sambhar Salt Lake. So I need not repeat the definition given by the Ramsar site. but I'll say that I need to emphasize that there are 5 classes: marine, estuarine, lacustrine, riverine, and palustrine wetlands. And my research interest lies in lacustrine, that associated with the lakes. And looking at the figure, this is the distribution of water by area, global distribution of water. 99% of water is present in polar and ocean region, and only 1% is present in inland water bodies. And among these 1%, the majority lies in the lakes, and other lies in rivers, streams, and ponds. So among these lakes, most of the lakes are also shallow lakes. Shallow lakes, and these inland water bodies could be either freshwater system or could be the saline water ecosystems. If you consider the saline lakes could be either small saline lakes or large saline lakes. Saline lakes could be inland saline lakes or the coastal saline lakes. If we consider by volume, large saline lakes constitute by 44% and other lake constitute 56% by volume. And in the second figure, this is by area. Large saline lakes in the blue color represent 23%, whereas other saline lake constitute of 77%. Wait, let me use the point highlighter or the pointer. So here, the main characteristics of inland saline wetland lakes, the 3 grams of salt per liter. 3 grams per liter. This is a very given, though the definition varies from author to author, given different definition, but this is a standard definition accepted. If a lake is having 3 grams per liter or above salt content, this is considered a saline lake. This salinity may vary from season to season. In monsoon, there will be different salinity, different level of salinity. In winter, there will be different. In summer there will be different salinity. These saline lakes oscillate. We can say that they oscillate from normal to hypersaline condition. Whether they could be during monsoon, there is more water, more precipitation, so they could be more. They can become more towards freshwater bodies. And when there is summer season, the water gets evaporated and salt become concentrated, so they could reach towards the hypersaline, And this is a map of global saline lakes. This was the paper published in Nature Geoscience in 2017. This shows the global distribution of large and small saline lakes. These are not the only map of inland saline lake, but more or less about all the saline lakes. This here in the our case study lies in the Sambhar Lake. These blue colors and these blue patches are the lakes which are of large surface area, more than 300 kilometer squares, and the black are the small lakes which lie below 300 kilometer square of surface area. So now the most important is role of saline lake. What is the role of saline lake ecosystems? We all know lakes play a very important role, and saline lakes are not the exception. They provide many goods and services. They provide all the ecosystem services that other lakes, other freshwater lakes, or other ecosystems provide. So among them, the main are the recharge and refueling sites of migratory birds. These are the most attraction point of the migratory birds, specifically like flamingos. Flamingos are so beautiful. They are so much. Their main attraction point is pink color, which comes from these saline lakes. These saline lakes have blue-green algae. These red algae, and these flamingos come here to the saline lakes. They eat that lakes and make themselves pink. Their feathers could not or cannot become pink unless and until they eat these algae, and these saline lakes are the main site for those colorful red algae. Then from economic point of view, they provide minerals. Then there is the third point, high rate of productivity, then freshwater lakes. Most of the saline lakes are shallow. They have very less depth. So with the wind circulation, there is the recirculation of water. So there is regular recharge of water from from downwards to upward and upward to movement. There is continuous recycling of the water. So there is rate of recharge, rate of productivity is higher than high quantity of food for fishes. These are the saline lakes which have the capability to provide life forms even at the extreme condition, high saline conditions. There are some of the organisms which can survive, tolerate up to hypersaline conditions. So these here support high invertebrates with highly salinity. Then again there are the recreational activities they provide million brine shrimps and flies. Here we can see that these lakes are source of abiotic business as well as biotic businesses, and commonly as these are saline lakes, they provide edible edible salt. Now coming to the vertical gradients, to down the earth as we move deeper, these lakes are mostly shallow lakes. However, they have commonly 5 to 6 layers, and the topmost layer is rich in organic matter due to deposition of halophiles or the other extremophiles, whichever are present in the respective lakes. Then in the next layers or the top layer to the next layer, we have edible salt that we extract, like calcium, rich in calcium, rich in sodium, then other minerals. Then as we move downwards, there more and more minerals are found. Then we have withered minerals, and the last we have the Precambrian rocks. From top to bottom, we reach from the salt, highly porous salt, to the Precambrian rocks. So the major cations are sodium, magnesium, potassium, calcium. Major anions are carbonate, bicarbonate, sulfate, and chloride. These lakes also have phosphorus, nitrogen, iron, etc. minerals. These are the minor minerals, and these minor minerals help in the life forms, help to the biotic factors like halophytes and halophiles for their life support. But these ions, phosphorus, nitrogen, do not contribute to the major salinity of the lake. These support the life of the biotic factor, but they are not the major contributors of the salinity for the lake. Next, we see the trophic structure. These trophics, as like other ecosystems, these lakes also have trophic structure: primary producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers. These trophic structure, like they have halophytes and halophiles. Primarily, they have copepores, crustaceans, and secondary Artemia salina, Branchianella species. Tertiary consumers have bird species. So these are some examples. However, there is shifting as the wetlands. Normally, wetlands are also dynamic in nature, and so as these saline wetland ecosystems. There is also shift in the organisms. As the salinity increases, there are different type of organisms. As salinity decreases, there are different types of organisms. And there is shift in the organism from season to season, from water level, change in water level, from change in water salt concentration. So but commonly there is also, these are the standards trophic structures where birds are the tertiary consumers. So now the major concern is our most important focus is our major threats. So as other wetlands are also under threat, same way the saline wetland ecosystems are also under threat, but they are neglected. Even inland saline lakes are neglected because they do not have direct day-to-day life utility. In our day-to-day life, we do not necessarily depend on the saline ecosystem unless we do any fishery or brine shrimp business. So what most first threat is agriculture diversion, when water is filtered out and diverted for the ecosystem for agriculture. Then there is a boundary sinkage, there is a wetland conversion, as there is this is the most important. Wetland conversion is the most common, then hunting and poaching, urban expansion, pollutions, decreasing water depth, then water use for industrial and commercial purpose. So coming to the next slide is the case study, Sambhar Salt Lake, India. This is the largest inland saline wetland lake, which was declared Ramsar site in 1990. It is the 7th declared Ramsar site of India and the first saline wetland ecosystem in Ramsar site of India. These are some of the details. Surface area. It is an endorheic basin which receives rainfall from 4 ephemeral rivers: Rupangarh, Mendha, Kharian, Khandal. These drain out their water during monsoon, but during other seasons they are left water. There is least, there is no water or less water they dump. During monsoon season, they bring water and sediments and also the fresh water organisms along with them to the lake. Then this area is located the third or the semi-arid region. We will be discussing next slide. This is the geographical location of the study area. It is located at the Rajasthan state in the confluence of 3 districts: Ajmer, Nagaur and Jaipur. It is at the confluence of 3 districts. And if we zoom into the lake, it is surrounded by the hill range of Aravali, one of the oldest hill range of the world, Aravali hill range. Then the major threats and minor threats of the lake are the hunting, poaching, vegetation type change, construction within the lake, conversion of the solar park, vehicle testing, urban expansion, increasing pollution, shrinkage of wetland boundary, decreasing water depth, illegal salt pan encroachment, excess groundwater extraction, wetland conversion to wasteland, habitat alteration. Here the most important and focusing point is the conversion to solar park construction within the lake. So there is a threat. I will be showing from the satellite images how there is decreasing water level. Due to decrease in water level, it is considered as wasteland, and due to wasteland, it is thought of converting it to a solar park. It is a Ramsar site, but it is a saline Ramsar site declared under the criteria A. And but due to some of the anthropogenic pressure, there is planning to convert it into a solar park. Now for the study, I used satellite data of Landsat 4 and 5 with the sensor, thematic mapper and operation land imager of the year 1989, 1998, 2008, 2014, 2019 and 2020. So I use those data to, as it is a saline lake, I use them to find out the salinity index using the Landsat images bands. And for the year, we can see from the images in the 1989. I classified the study area into 5 classes, that is extremely saline, highly saline, moderately saline, slightly saline, and non-saline. I have classified equally to in all the images, and we can see that in 1989 the image falls under the extremely to highly saline category. This is the official boundary, and this is up to the 3 kilometer buffer area. So in the image of 1998, you can see there is reduction of salinity towards the outer periphery of the lake. However, there is salinity within the lake. Then in 2008, there is still further reduction of salinity. 2014, we can see more or less the same level of salinity as of 2008. Then in 2019, this is shocking to see that it comes under slightly saline to non-saline. In the core area, very core area, there is a class of moderately saline. However, most of the lake area can be classified as or the categorized into slightly saline to non-saline. But this is a very interesting figure in the last figure in 2020. This is the satellite image downloaded from the month of April. So we can see that during this pandemic situation, this was due to COVID-19, India had its highest lockdown, largest lockdown or the longest lockdown of March, April and May month, when all the commercial activities were banned. Everyone was asked to sit in the home. So there was no economic activity, there was no hunting, poaching, there was no commercial activity like salt extraction, brine collection or salt processing or packaging, any of the activities So we can see from the image that the lake has restored itself within this 3 months. Almost whole lake is coming under the again in the extremely saline category. This is a very surprising and gift to nature that during this beginning of United Nations ecosystem restoration decade, it has restored itself, suggesting that nature can heal herself if there is no anthropogenic pressure. And it is our sole responsibility to maintain this lake further. As it was coming and it was on the verge of extinction, we can see that this was losing its identity of salinity, but again it has regained in this year, pandemic year. Though this is pandemic year or the loss of humanity or to human race, there is many of their example and number of examples when ecosystem has restored itself, environment has made us refreshed, has pressed its refreshed button. So to move more deeper, I classify this study area into 8 land use land cover classes. Aravali hills, barren land, saline soil, salt pan, salt crust, water body, settlement and vegetation. So this part is eastern side is the official salt lake Sambhar Salt Limited, when the legal salt production is allowed since British period. This is the image of 1963 taken from Corona spacecraft. This is not the satellite image or the Corona disease. This is the aerial photograph I have fortunate to collect from USGS Earth Explorer. So here we can see that the lake is having full of water. It's full of water. Then in the 1972 there is little bit reduction in the water. However, the lake is almost the same as in 1963. Then in 1981 there is shrinkage of lake, further shrinkage of lake. There is no water towards the west or towards the south and little bit towards the north. Further again in 1992 there is some increase in the lake extent. But to the surprise, in 2009 and 2019 there is huge reduction in the water. In 2009 image you can see a single large patch of water, simply a patch of water is left. And in 2019 we can count that 1 2 3 4 5, there are only 5 patch of water in such a big lake. Only 5 simple patches of water is present. So next, again focusing on the salt pen. Now the focus should be of salt pen. Here in 1963 there is legal salt pen. Here there is legal salt pen. In 1981 there is legal salt pen. But from 1992 there is in the north side we can see these are the illegal salt pens coming up. In 2009 there is the legal salt pen have increased towards the north, towards the south and towards the west of the west is legal encroachment. These are the illegal encroachments, and in 2019 it has increased to more towards the south. So due to illegal salt pan encroachment, you can see that there is reduction. I will be establishing relationship with the rainfall and temperature in the further slides. So in this graph, in the next figure, we can see that there is continuous reduction of the lake water. In 1972, the lake water was about 150 kilometers square, which are reduced to about 30 kilometers square. This is a very huge loss of this wetland, and there is increase of salt pen curve. We can see that each curve in the vegetation is increasing and decreasing due to the rainfall, but there is constant decrease in wetland water body, the water content of the wetland. So if we come to the next slide, this is the bird census we had done in 2019. As I started my PhD in 2018, I started count bird census. I joined the bird census of Asian Water Bird Census. So we with the experts and we could find that there are only 20, we could identify only 29 species of 3,000, almost 3,000 species. However, in literature it is cited that this lake used to support 289 bird species and up to 3 to 4 lakhs of number in counts, bird counts. This was a huge hub of migratory birds. But to the irony, there is no water, there is decreasing salinity, there is decreasing water level, and as a result of which the bird count is also decreasing. As there is no water, there is no food left for these birds. So they are shifting their habitat, they are shifting their visiting sites from Sambhar Lake. So this is a field visit location. Here we can see that we have done intense field visits, and we could find that these are the illegal salt pans. This is the official part, and other than these are the illegal salt pans. You can see clearly there is so many in and around the lake. There are some of the salt packaging sites, salt packaging, salt manufacturing. Then this is the Sakambari temple. This is the oldest temple, Sakambari temple, on which this lake is named as Sakambar or named as Sambhar Lake. So these are the tourist construction. These are the tourist construction. You see that instead of investing for the lake restoration, there is investment for lake ecotourism. These are some of the sampling sites we had collected for soil and water, and then we have visited for within the lake. See, this used to be the core part of the lake, but we have traveled through this lake. This lake is completely dry. In the month of February we traveled, and this is the condition of the lake. So now coming to the rainfall data, this is the literature and this is the data we collected from Sambhar Salt Limited from 1959. You can see that the trend is almost similar or increasing rainfall. It means there is constant precipitation to the lake, but there is decrease in water level in the lake. The nature is supporting, nature is giving it sufficient amount of water to hold the water supply. Supply is constant, but there is decrease in the lake. You can see there almost the lake has experienced more than the 600 millimeter of rainfall. The average rainfall is 500 millimeter, and lake is almost receiving up to even 1 liter of rainfall in a semi-arid region. In the next slide, this is temperature. So this is temperature. You can see that the temperature is also in the decreasing. Temperature is decreasing, it means there is less evaporation. There is more precipitation and there is less evaporation. Still, though the condition is so much favorable, still there is no water in the lake. This is a clear indication to what extent anthropogenic pressure is on the lake. Anthropogenic pressure is lake is experiencing this anthropogenic pressure, and though the climate is supportive, we say that there is more of climate change, but for this lake I would say there is least impact of climate change and more adverse impact by human activities. So these are some of the glimpses of the field photographs. These are the investments done for the ecotourism. In the name of ecotourism, these are some of the sheds at the houses formed. These are the illegal tube wells and bore wells, illegal cables to extract, to steal the brine, to collect the illegal brine collection for salt. And these are the illegal salt pans. And these are some of the photograph snaps of the nearby pollution sites of the lake where there is seepage. So these are some of the key threats of the photographs of the study area. Then I would say from my study I can say that there is deep linkage of economy and ecology for the lake. There is economy. The lake used to provide huge economy unless and until ecology is stable. Till ecology is stable, it used to generate revenue of $27,248 US. It gave salt production of 18,65,000 tons of salts per year. It used to provide 4582 villages. These are the historical data. Now the current data is not available, but definitely these numbers have gone down. This is the report of 2017 report, and from the literature. I have collected this from the literature. This is not my data, but I said that ecology, soil, water, halophytes, birds, each and every component has to be taken care of. Unless and until there is each abiotic and biotic factors are given importance, these are not stored, then their economy cannot be generated. If there is no water in the lake, then there will be no organic matter, so there will be no organism or the biotic factors, no flamingos or migratory birds will come, there will be no recharge of groundwaters in the lake. So if there is no groundwater, there will be no possibility of brine formation, and so ultimately there will be no salt. If this is no salt, then this will be considered as a wasteland, and this is going to be converted to other purpose. So unless and until we give importance to the ecology, we cannot generate economy. Both as the Ramsar concept is wise use, these lakes urgently requires the wise use concept, application of wise use concept for this lake. So I'll conclude that this is a very good, interesting story that has we could revisit the past with the help of remote sensing technology. This is gave a very interesting fact how anthropogenic pressure is more putting more impact, more pressure than the climate change. These are the saline wetland ecosystem. They play so many roles to the give economy to the local level, national level, global level, have global ecological importance. However, though climatic conditions are supportive, this anthropogenic pressure, due to anthropogenic pressures, we are not able to get the benefit or ecosystem services that it's supposed to give. So this is a very good example when again the last image that in 2020, when due to lockdown it has restored itself. This is our prime duty when restoration should be persisted, as nature has already. So to the next slide. Yes, this is one of a research gap now, as this is the age, or I'll say the time of virus. We also have to look into more, or I am more interested to look into the wetland virus of this ecosystem, saline wetlands. What is the distribution, abundance, communities, what is the transmission mode in hydric soil, halophytes, haloalkylophiles, what is the interrelationship with the algae, bacteria, archaea and diatoms of this ecosystem, so that more of the scientific knowledge can be can come to the front and help to the scientific communities. So yes, at the end, finally, I end my research, and thanks everyone for listening to me, for giving me opportunity to share my research. Thanks once again, Society of Wetland Scientists, and thanks Kim for the support. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, Rajashri. I really appreciate that. We'll just go ahead and get to the questions. I see quite a few questions in the Q&A, and I've got a couple of my own to ask you. So I appreciate you giving that presentation. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide here. Rajashri, are you able to put on your video? Oh, there you are. Okay, there you are. And I'm going to have to ask the SWS staff if they would go ahead and go to the next screen, please. There we go. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm just going to kind of give everybody the ground rules about.
Due to unstable internet connectivity.
Oh, okay. So if you want, just go ahead and turn your video off and keep your audio on so that that we'll be able to talk to you. Okay. All right, so I just kind of want to put the ground rules out for the Q&A. I'm going to be posing the questions I got in the Q&A pane to our presenter, and the most popular questions that have been upvoted, I'll read those first. If you still have more questions, go ahead and type them into the Q&A pane if you didn't get a chance during the presentation. So I just, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, I'll start back when you started your analysis on the Landsat image. Can you tell us how did you process that Landsat image to determine the salinity in the lakes? Did you use a certain band ratio or index for that?
Yeah, that's a nice question. Yes, I have. First, I downloaded the Landsat data. Then I did atmospheric correction and georeferencing. Then I used the salinity index using blue and red band. It is product of blue and red band, a square root of product of blue and red band.
The blue and red band. Okay, so is
Using
that
the band ratio, I could, yeah.
Is that a standard technique to estimate salinity in these inland saline lakes? You're muted.
Due to poor connectivity, I'm getting exited due to poor connectivity. Sorry for that.
That's okay. Okay, well, thank you for answering that question. I want to ask another question about the salinity maps, and that you had that 1989 as your baseline image, I guess. And I was just curious because I would suppose that water levels impact the salinity of the lake too, or even the type of band ratio that or index that you're using. So how is that salinity, what was the water level at the time of the 1989 image, and how low or high were those water levels compared to average water levels over the years? So Rajashri, we're not hearing you. You look muted again there.
Oh.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Sorry, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why these issues. Anyway, yes, I have used 1989 as my baseline study, and I have not come across any literature. They have measured the water level at that time, water level, but as we have seen that surface area covered by water body has decreased. It is decreasing trend.
Right, so
But
the
the
surface.
level or the depth of the water, yeah.
Okay, so the surface, obviously the surface area of the lake is moving. And so in your map where you had, you showed the wetland decline, was that, it was mapped as water, but then on the graph it said wetland decline. So where the water is where you're considering that to be the wetland. Is that correct? Did we lose you, Rajashri?
No. Yes, I have come back. I don't know. Frequently, I am getting exited. Sorry for that. Okay. So, did you ask?
Oh, I think we might have lost you. You know, actually, if it helps, because of the internet issues, Rajashri, if you want to try to type an answer into the question and answer pane, and I could, you know, we could all see the answer to that. I could read that answer.
Yes, the next question is that after COVID lockdown, how exactly cessation of commercial activity caused that happen? And now I have not visited the field. I am still at my home. But from satellite image, you can see that it has revived. The lake is again with full of water, and its salinity is also the signature of saline or the salt we can visible from the image. So I guess due to this shutdown, there is a revive of the lake. Once I go back to the field to join my university, I will be able to verify to what extent and in which direction the lake has revived.
So are you saying we saw the salinity maps for 2020? and saw that you
Okay.
said there was an increase in the salinities. But you're saying also that the water levels have increased in 2020?
Yeah, I should have given the water map actually, the red, green, blue map. Yes, I should have given that map for so that we can can see even the water level has also increased. I should have given the water level map also. I have only given the salinity map.
Well, so I was just curious, I think there's a couple questions here about how the COVID lockdown explained the lake water recovery, and so maybe that map would help elaborate on that. But do the rivers that you, 4 rivers that you said provide input to the lake, are those, is the water controlled on any of those, or are there any dams on those? Because clearly the rainfall didn't explain water levels going down, and you mentioned anthropogenic pressure. So could you speak to that about the rivers input?
Yes. Yes, there are 4 major rivers and there and many rivulets. But with the due course of time, even there are 2,000 or above. I don't know exact. I cannot say the number, but there are many check dams built to control the water. So even inputs through the river have also been checked.
Okay, so
So
there
this
is
is
some
also one
control.
cause, and the input of water is less, and extraction is more. Extraction of water is more, and input of through the river water is less. That's why the lake is left with little water.
So that's one of the main reasons the lake water levels are declining, is what you're saying.
Yes, yes.
Okay. There's a couple of questions about the Landsat imagery being from the different years. Did you take those during the same, were those Landsat images acquired at the same season? Because I suppose that could help to explain some of the differences in the salinities, especially if water levels are different.
Yes, the images are collected from winter season, October, November, and December, depending on the availability, the open platform, and all the images are winter season and October, November, December, because this is the prime time for even incoming of flamingos and other migratory birds to the lake.
Right. Okay, good, good. So that answers a couple of those questions about whether or not those are comparable because they're from the same month or season. And you picked the ones that are most important to the waterfowl, the migratory water birds that would be using the area. So thank you for illuminating this on that. I do have another question, and it sort of gets into the policy you talked about at the end. This is a Ramsar site, and you talked about wise use. There's a couple of these questions that have to do with communicating your results to the policymakers. And if you did, what was their response? And also, how do we communicate with the Ramsar Convention that this lake is not being protected with wise use?
This part is dealt by administration. It comes under confluence of 3 districts. So 3 political and administrative powers are involved in it, and there is always a tug of war or something like that maybe. So it is an issue uh, at the ground level. As I am a scholar and I don't know about how to approach Ramsar Convention. I am just doing research on it. So putting the question to Ramsar Convention, I think it's beyond my syllabus as of now, my stage. Uh, Maybe that will led by administration that control the lake.
So I think, like you said, you're doing the research and you're providing that, and you don't necessarily have the venue to communicate those results other than talking to the folks at Ramsar. But I would hope that anyone who is listening that has the ability to find out how this can be used as in making decisions in this Ramsar Lake. And we have, obviously at SWS, we have a very close connection with folks that are in Ramsar, that they might be able to offer a way for this information to be shared with them. So I think I'm going to ask one more question. Actually, I've got a couple of here. There is an Asian Wetland Symposium, which one of our participants attended, that allowed them to present results as a student even. So maybe there's some type of a place, a venue that you can look at to be able to present these results and hopefully make a difference for this wetland. I would have to say that the water management of the rivers coming in, and also the illegal salt pans and the anthropogenic activities that are impacting these lakes are something that's going to be, you're going to need a whole lot of boatload of evidence to be able to do that. But you make a very good point, is if the ecology is changing so much because of these pressures and these threats, that it's not going to support the economy that they're hoping. I would hate for them. You didn't send a picture of what a solar field looks like, but I'm assuming it's dried up and they just put solar panels out when they have a solar farm. Is that the case?
Sorry, I didn't understand. Repeat.
What is the solar farm or whatever? Is it just when the lake gets dry, they just start putting out solar panels out, or how does? You didn't show a picture of that threat, and that's what I was wondering.
No, there is investment is going on. The planning is going on. There are some of the work is also invested, because as the lake is having no water and no salt extraction or least salt extraction, now it is considered as just a wasteland. So it is planned to be a solar park, India's largest solar park. The work is on the process. So
Okay.
I'm afraid whether instead of restoration, if we there is planning to be conversion from a wetland to be converted as a solar park, or for any other site. There are other activities going on, like vehicular testing sites or movie shooting sites. So these really harm the ecology. But I don't know whether there will be any investment for restoration or not.
Right, right. Well, I think if I'm going to end the question and answer period right there. I've got a couple announcements coming up, but if you didn't get a chance to ask Rajashree a question, or you want to elaborate, or you want to go ahead and kind of help her with some of the things that she needs to get this research out there, please use her email address you see on this slide. And I'm going to go ahead and make a few announcements. I think I need Susanna, SWS staff, to go ahead and forward that for me. There we go. I want to announce that our next SWS webinar will be held on November 19th, and that'll be presented by Emily Alderton, who's going to be talking about her work in the UK, resurrecting ghost ponds and other approaches in pond restoration in conservation. And next slide, please. Our next Spanish webinar will be held on December 9th, and that will be presented by Carolina Rojas Caseda, speaking about urban wetlands and an opportunity to make sustainable cities. And as a reminder, all of the Spanish webinars are free to non-members and members alike. And next slide, please. Please subscribe to our social media channels like Facebook and LinkedIn, and keep informed about what's going on in the society. And hit the next slide, please. We also have, nope, sorry, go back up. We have the wetland interviews, if you'll see there on the right-hand side. That is, we have 2 in English and 3 in Spanish, so please go to our YouTube page to look at any of the recordings of the past webinars, as well as the wetland interviews. And you can, like I said, you can find that under the resources tab on the web page under wetland interviews. And if you're Spanish speaking, make sure you subscribe to the Latin America and Caribbean regions Facebook page at the link listed here. And then finally, next slide. Thanks again to Rajashree for her presentation and to our webinar sponsors, and thank you to our audience for participating today. Please have a wonderful day and stay well. Thank you.